Good for him.
Kind of envious.
Things you see on a Tuesday morning, eh?
Fabulous. So, yeah, I mean, he knows how to live his best life, doesn't
Yes, he does. And we'll be doing that at 8 o'clock, won't we? We've been talking about Oasis. From the I don't know, I mean, it was, you were saying, an open secret in the music industry
So.
for quite a long time. But how have they managed to keep it from their fans?
Well, I'm not convinced it was an open secret, do you think? Because we're a gossipy bunch, us journalists. Surely it would have got out before now if people had actually known. Yeah, it's
At least two of us here knew.
Well, then I'm just upset that you didn't tell me any sooner, Kay, quite frankly. Yes, the thing is you have to work out all the sort of dates lining up and piece the puzzle together of when they might be appearing at what venues and things like
They're
that.
going to do Wembley, aren't you? I mean, the Mirror this morning, I read saying that they're not going to do Wembley.
Poor Taylor, though. She's only had this record for a
Poor Taylor's... Oh, my good heavens. She's doing fine.
OK, fine.
Yeah, she's doing absolutely fine. I thought you were going to say heavens to Betsy then or something.
I know I bring up the 1950s, but not quite yet.
Yes, you do. Still to come on The Breakfast Show for you. Do a shout out to Stevie Sidebottom on that. He plays that song beautifully on his guitar. The countdown is on to 8 o'clock. I'll ask the godfather of modern music PR what Oasis could have up their sleeve and why now.
Big stories don't always come from big cities. I'm Lisa Dowd and I'm Sky's Midlands correspondent, and this is where I grew up. We can reveal that the driver who hit Harry Dunn is 42-year-old Anne Sakoulas.
Just met the president and we never thought we'd get this far.
This is what they're up against. The wind is the really big problem. It is back-breaking work and the smoke is thick. It's been working well. Water levels are dropping, but no one knows what impact further rain will have. What would you do if this place wasn't open? We take you to the heart of the stories that shape our world.
It's really scary. We're terrified.
In this community, I'm told that everybody knows someone affected by COVID.
Hopefully this will be the last wave.
I never knew they would make it. It's amazing.
Change seems tantalisingly close in this corner of the UK. Wales was the first to introduce the plastic bag charge. This is my patch, my specialism. It's also my home.
Me, darling.
OK.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to The Breakfast Show here on Sky News. The godfather of modern music PR, Alan Edwards, is here. Good morning to you to talk about, of course, the reunion of Oasis. It's definitely going to happen, isn't it?
Definitely, maybe, certainly, it's happening.
Yeah.
All the speculation was so rife, and then there was just no denial. And at the end of the day, it's too late now to put the genie back in the bottle. It's going to happen. It's going to blow the roof of stadiums, Wembley in particular, I believe. And I think it's a moment. Rock has been a bit moribund, nothing been going on recently, and this is so exciting. I think it will shake everything up and wake everything up again. And it's great for the economy, great for the country, but great for rock and roll.
Fantastic. Now, as far as the PR is concerned, how would you have dealt with it?
I think they've done a very good job. I mean, whether or not deliberately or accidentally, this narrative that's gone on for years and the build-up and the excitement, we've all been part of it, will they, won't they? I don't think that could have been done better. Well, I have no idea whether it was planned or not, but an exemplary job. And now this sort of coming out really at this moment, I think the country feels a bit optimistic. It's a great moment. We've been through COVID, the recession, everything else. And it's the time for some really great British music, and here we are.
Just to point out to viewers that the panel on the side, that is their social media feed, and we're just refreshing it all the time because we are so excited about it. I mean, you've done plenty of these campaigns in your time, haven't you? I read your book recently, I was there. I mean, you've worked with some of the greats.
I have indeed. I was thinking about reasons for getting back together today, and I came up with at least 10. Some of the greatest reunions, Led Zeppelin, when they did the O2, they did it for charity. Pink Floyd for Live 8 was charity. And David Bowie, of course, it was a comeback of sorts. He disappeared and he returned. It was like a second coming, and it was announced, of course, on this very show with you, indeed, which was wonderful. And, of course, Prince and so on. So there have been many great rock and roll moments, but this is one of these British, it will go down in history as a British rock moment.
I remember weren't you doing the Michael Jackson gigs, and then, sadly, he passed?
I was. I mean, the excitement around that was pretty incredible. Planning to do 50 O2s, which would have been the record. And in fact, the rehearsals were going great. We even did a Zoom with him on the day. And then I got a call from Gordon Smart of The Sun later that day to hear, and he called me up and said, I hear Jacko's dead. And literally, those shows never happened. They were the greatest, that was the greatest comeback that nearly didn't happen, I suppose.
Yeah. Why do you think the boys are getting back together? I say the boys, they're 51 and 57, but yeah, let's call them the Gallagher brothers. Why do you think now? You
know, I think there's a whole lot of reasons, but at the end of the day, I think it's the right moment, it's the right time, they're the right age, and I think music is a little bit like fine art. It appreciates in value, and we get the rarity, and the longer we get away from that moment, and we've got to remember Oasis defined the 90s, and they were more than just a band. They were a look, they were an attitude, they were a style, they were a haircut, but they were incredible songs that are memorable. So it was just like a kettle boiling. Eventually, the top came off, and it happened to be last weekend.
What do you think that proximity of their look with the Beatles, how much do you think that helped them?
Well, the Beatles get bigger and bigger, and I'm in a position now where I've got 11, or even with another one coming, grandchildren and 2 stepkids, and all they seem to talk about is the Beatles. And, you know, so I think the fact that Oasis, clearly some of the melodies and that, I mean, Oasis have also had a great reverence for British superstars, you know, like Bowie, like the Beatles, you know, like Zeppelin, The Who, all of them. And I think but they reinvented it with a fresh energy, new style. So I think it's a wonderful thing because it keeps the flame alight.
I remember when in the 90s you were either in the red corner or the blue corner, you were either Blair or Oasis, and it was a bit like Donny Osmond and David Cassidy, you know, you could only be one, you couldn't have both. Why did they win over Blur?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I bought both albums at the time, and definitely Maybe, I remember buying that, but I also bought Modern Life is Rubbish. But I think, which was the Blur album, of course, and Blur got back and their reunion's done really well, credit to them, and they clearly had more gas in the tank, which was another reason. Some bands come back just because they've still got the songs. LCD, who played the APE Festival at the weekend, only broke up for about 3 or 4 years because they said they had more tracks, more songs to do. But in answer to your question, I think Oasis just had that swagger that sort of, it was somewhere between the Stones and Beatles and that thing, and also the story. It was like it was almost biblical, wasn't it? The feuding brothers. It became bigger and bigger, and
modern day Cain and Abel.
Modern day Cain and Abel, and they are now the modern rock and roll myth.
Yeah. When bands get back together, we were talking about it in the office this morning, and the suggestion that if the new music is not as good, then does that somehow take away from what they were or what they had been?
Well, it depends on the music, but not really. I think this thing it supersedes that. And also, if you look at it, think of one of the biggest reunions of recent years, not a British one, but ABBA. You know, there's other ways of coming back now with holograms.
Oh, goodness, you don't think they're going to be holograms, do you? Oh,
In
no,
the future,
they're avatars. Oh, no, that would be terrible.
We could be certain there's a Beatles reunion coming in the future, you know, in a screen near you.
Yeah, but it's definitely going to be the boys. It's not going to be an Avatar, is it?
This is real, proper, live, gritty rock and roll with Oasis.
Fantastic.
Sure.
And what about the suggestions that it will be at Wembley or it won't be at Wembley? I know I touched on that with you. I mean, they're bound to do Wembley, aren't they?
Yeah, look, I've got absolutely no intel, so I can't. But it's kind of the obvious, but there are other stadiums around, so, I mean, look,
Well, they're City fans, aren't they? So they're not going to do any of the football stadia.
That's a good point, but I'm sure between SJM and Live Nation, they'll work out the right places.
Fantastic. So, as I said, it's going to be at 8 o'clock, we believe. That's what they've been saying on their social media. When you've done these reunions before, did you use social media as much as we do now?
I remember when we did the Led Zeppelin one, which was funny because I did an initial announcement and there wasn't enormous pickup, and I realised that I needed to go to. We went to all the editors of the paper who suddenly went crazy about it, and then it became the biggest thing ever. Tickets were selling. It was interesting. Tickets were selling for thousands and thousands of pounds. People were flying in from New York for the gig. This time round, social media will play a bigger part for sure, but it does in all our lives and everything we do, doesn't it?
Do you have a favourite song?
It's got to be Wonderwall.
OK.
But I like Rock and Roll Star too, or Champagne Supernova.
I'm glad you said that one, because that's the one we've got.
OK.
OK, well, OK, you said Wonderwall, we found it.
Brilliant.
Today is gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you.
I almost said that.
By now, you should have somehow realized what you gotta do. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now.
OK, it's almost the end of the programme, and then about 4 minutes time we'll be finding out what is going on with the Gallagher brothers. Alan's agreed to stay with us. Katie's going to be with us as well. Gareth can't contain himself. Stay tuned. Hello again, everybody. Oh, my goodness me, 15 seconds to the top of the hour, and we know what the press release says. We can't tell you for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 seconds. Now we can.
It's a lot more locations than we thought it would be. That's the first thing to note. 14 stadium gigs. It's going to be a brilliant summer.
What we're talking about? Tell them what we're talking
about. Oh, sorry, the Oasis reunion. It's actually happening. I just thought everyone was on the same wavelength as me. I've thought about it so much in the last 24 hours. Yes, so it's going to be gigs starting in Cardiff on the 4th of July, going to Manchester on the 11th of July, London, Wembley on the 25th. I think
Daily Mirror.
But there was a lot of speculation that it was going to be 10 gigs in Wembley. This is actually only going to be 4 gigs at Wembley. For now. Depending, I would imagine, on how well it
We know how this works, don't we, Alan?
Oh, yeah. Wait for the next 6.
They're also going to be heading to Edinburgh's Murrayfield Stadium, and they're going to be finishing up, by the looks of things, in Dublin. But a brilliant quote as well. Oasis have commented, "The guns have fallen silent, the stars have aligned, the great wait is over. Come see. It will not be televised."
Oh, really? Oh, OK. Let me read the top of the quote for you. Oasis today ends years of feverish speculation with the confirmation of a long-awaited run of UK and Ireland shows, forming the domestic leg of their Oasis Live 25 World Tour. Domestic leg.
Domestic leg?
Yeah. Cardiff, Manchester, London, Edinburgh, Dublin in the summer of 2025. There are only shows in Europe next year. This will be one of the biggest live moments and hottest tickets of the decade. Sounds as though these are the only ones in Europe, but it sounds as though they're going elsewhere. Alan, how are we interpreting that?
Yeah. I think that's definitely it. I remember when we did the Spice Girls comeback tour, and we had flags from all around the world, 7 different countries, 3 continents. That's got the same feel to it.
Yeah, what else on the...
I'm refreshing the socials. Here we are, yes. So on Oasis, this is it. This is happening. Tickets on sale Saturday, the 31st of August, 8 a.m, and then the dates as well. And there's a video there.
What's the video? So we can't show...
Minute and 19 seconds there of various historic images of them playing to crowds.
OK.
And Oasis on stage.
Yeah. What we still don't know is whether it will be the original lineup of Oasis as well. I don't think there is any word on exactly who.
I don't think we care apart from Liam and Noel, do we?
Let's be honest.
But yeah, hugely exciting as well. Tickets go on sale August the 31st. But yeah, I mean, this is the moment. There'd been a lot of speculation that it was going to be a huge run at Wembley. Certainly, it's less runs at Wembley, but more locations in the UK, which is the exciting thing, isn't it? They're heading to Edinburgh, they're heading to Dublin. Manchester, Heaton Park certainly is going to be a...
Oh, yeah, look at that, 4 nights at Heaton Park.
A very exciting moment. Starting in Cardiff, though, at the Principality Stadium. More gigs overall, I think, than we thought were actually going to be happening. They're going to make a huge amount of money from this.
I remember when Prince announced his wonderful run at the O2, 4 shows first, then it was a week, and it ended up 21 concerts.
Yeah,
so don't worry about 4. Yes. That's just the kick-off.
It's definitely going to be more.
Needless to say, the reaction currently on their Instagram, on their Twitter, the tweet is 2 minutes old, 43,000 likes.
Wow.
Is that already?
Huge,
really?
huge. And the commentary, people say that the world is healing, things are coming back to as it should be, that they're back. Just absolute huge fan reaction as well.
And you say the impact on the economy and on the public mood will be huge.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of things. I mean, if we think that Taylor Swift estimates were that brought £1 billion into the UK economy, I mean, this is going to be something like that. Certainly in London, could be 200 or 300 million. And it's also this ancillary jobs and the flights and the tourism and all the extra things. But also, I think it's the mood of the times. I think we've been through really tough periods, you know, with COVID, the recession, all the conflict going on, and there's a feeling of optimism maybe in the air, and this is fantastic. It's a way to cement it. Everyone's really going to be looking forward to this. So
it's going to be hugely nostalgic as well, isn't it? It's going to take us back to that time in the 90s.
Yeah, and the 90s were a wonderful time. Britain was swinging, everything was happening. You know, we were winning football. You know, Bosch and Max Price. It all. I think it is definitely a moment in time.
And 4 nights so far at Wembley. There are rumours it could go up to 10. Matthew is there for us. It's happening, Matthew.
It is happening, although not quite, as you say, at the record levels that we perhaps thought. But I think the point that someone in the studio just made is a very valid one. Yes, it's 4 nights at Wembley to begin with, but goodness knows, if they start to sell those 4 nights out in a matter of seconds, as I suspect they possibly will, could that number creep up ever so slightly towards the record that is currently held, not just by Taylor Swift, as I said in the last hour. I've been very rudely reminded on Twitter by a number of people that it's also held by Take That. So my apologies to all Take That fans for missing them out. That's the record. 8 could get there, but even 4 would be pretty special, I think, for a lot of people who've been anticipating this right back since at least 2009, the last time that Oasis, at least Liam and Noel, appeared on stage together. Not to pop the bubble of excitement, but I think it's important in the interests of balance that I say that I quite like Oasis. I think they're all right. You know, I, like any man of a certain age, learned Wonderwall on guitar. But I don't know if I'll be queuing for tickets necessarily. It's controversial to say I quite like the fusing, because it gave birth to possibly my favourite insult ever, which is when Noel said of Liam that he was the angriest man you've ever met. He's a man with a fork in a world of soup, which which I just think in Noel's own inimitable way is an absolutely wonderful metaphor. So I shall be grieving at the end of that feud in some ways, although I know I'm probably in a minority when I say that.
Yeah, he also said that he couldn't work a day longer with his brother Liam, and if you carry on like this, I think you'll find it's the same for you, young man.
I'll be blacklisted, yeah, possibly. Forgive me, I take it all back.
Good. Just in the nick of time. We've got dates to Wembley, haven't we?
We have got dates, yeah. Do you want to know the exact dates that we've got? If you're talking about brilliant quotes as well of the Gallaghers and how they finally healed the rift, we believe, at the moment in order to get these gigs back together. There's a brilliant quote from Noel, who over the years, they've both said such bad things about each other and how much they hate each other. But Noel, in the last few weeks, has admitted that Liam, his vocals just give Oasis the edge that nobody else can have. And he said his singing is like a pint of Guinness on a Tuesday. Lovely. But he said with Liam Gallagher, you get, it's like having 10 tequilas on a Friday night. That's what you get, your raucous edge from Liam.
What do you make him saying he doesn't want to... They're all right?
I mean, I think he's missing the mood of the moment, to be honest. I mean, look, I like the punky attitude. We've got to have a bit of rebellious spirit, and Oasis definitely have that. I was there when they played Wembley, but I also remember a gig I saw early on in Rockaway Beach in New York, and Liam ended up sticking his head in the amplifiers on the stage, and it was like seeing the Sex Pistols or something. So,
punk,
yeah, it's real punk. So maybe he'll get a job with the band. You never know.
You say Matthew has misjudged the mood. The website's crashed.
Oh, right.
So there is so many people trying to get onto the Oasis website. It just times out every time.
Okay,
I think we better get Matthew some tickets. He's changed his mind already.
Yeah. What we're going to do is because that has crashed, you can't see it on the website, we are going to we've ingested it for you, we're going to turn it around and we are going to play that promotional video for you just as soon as we have access to it, rights things and stuff, you know. But we'll have it very shortly and we'll play it out to you. We were talking about favourite songs.
Cigarettes and Alcohol. It has to be the whole of the Definitely Maybe album, but Cigarettes and Alcohol is just this sort of teenage rebellion vibe, which is brilliant. There's no song as good as that.
Yeah. Don't Look Back in Anger would be mine.
I think People's Choice.
No, Don't Look Back in Anger would be mine.
It's got an incredible melody, isn't it?
I'm going to go People's Choice and go for Wonderwall.
We've got that.
Great.
Today is gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you. By now you should have somehow realized what you gotta do. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now.
Let's see if we've got yours. Was that yours?
That was mine, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Supersonic as well. Yeah, like that. Got that too. You were going to say?
If we're to be picky, they only really had 2 good albums, though, didn't they? Arguably, it kind of tails off after that.
Have you been just sipping the Kool-Aid with Matthew? What's wrong with you?
The first 2 albums are brilliant British rock, but after that, I mean, you get famous and lots of money, and then you can't write the same
It's not a
songs.
body of work like Bowie, where you've got 15 or 20 albums. That's true. But
Not taking long, has
No.
sorry, I'm always going to come in for Bowie.
People have turned. I'm just refreshing the Blur social media feeds. Nothing yet from any of them. No comment, no comment.
Although, who was it that was telling me about the number of plays?
Well, if you were to compare Blur to Oasis now in terms of Spotify listens, then Oasis win. They get 21 million streams a month on Spotify compared to Blur, which is half that.
And they've had 12 billion streams on Spotify to date.
Have they?
Billion. Insane figures.
Yeah. We don't make a lot of money off Spotify, though, do they? I think I'm right.
That's why you have to do gigs like this, Kay.
Exactly. And they look as though they're going to make a lot of money.
Oh, according to The Sun, it's 400 million. Who knows? It's going to be a lot.
It is going to be a lot.
Speculate about Glastonbury. What do you think about Glastonbury? Surely if they're doing all of these runs in July and August, even though people have said, oh, maybe they'll throw in Glastonbury in June, I wouldn't have thought they'd want to spoil these gigs by doing Glastonbury in...
Glastonbury's still got this sort of je ne sais quoi, isn't it? And it gives it a real credibility and style, and I think it's special, Glastonbury. And I think it sort of also takes away any criticism of it just being a money tour.
OK.
I'm not ruling it out, then.
Yeah.
I wouldn't rule it out,
I'm
no.
not, yeah. Glastonbury, I don't get Glastonbury. I know, I said it out loud. Have you ever been?
I've never been. I would go. I think that's of all the festivals, that's the one I'd love to go to. Because I think if you can't find a little bit of Glastonbury for you, then there's something wrong about you, I think, isn't it, rather than Glastonbury? Like, I just think it's such a vibrant, dynamic, crazy place. There's a stage, this Glastonbury, there was people singing old nursery school hymns.
It's lovely.
You know, there's a little bit of everything.
It's
There's madness in
experience,
every
it's
corner.
I'm with Kay. To me, it's a place to work.
Yeah.
I mean, I have had to
You
go,
can't have a
but
shower or use the loo for 4 nights.
yeah, I've had the car waiting at the gates for when my act finishes.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, have we got this video? Let's listen to it.
Me and him are like telepathic, you know what I mean? I know my brother better than anybody else. When both come together, you have greatness. We made people feel something that was indefinable. I'd do it all again in a fucking heartbeat. This is it. This is happening. People will never, ever forget the way that you made them feel.
Oh, those boys already
Causing
getting in
chaos,
trouble.
eh?
Yeah, there was a swear word, we know. We're sorry, we should have checked it. We're very sorry. We will make sure it's not there in future. They couldn't help themselves, could they?
Just naturals, that punk spirit, still there.
I mean, we should say as well, Liam Gallagher has been touring the Definitely Maybe album very successfully all year and delivering what fans have wanted by performing the Oasis songs. Will it be much different from that? Yes, I argue, yes, because it's the chemistry of the brothers that you will get next year, and come on,
Liam's a better singer, let's be honest.
Well, no, it's Liam that's been singing
Oh,
it.
sorry.
But
Right.
The criticism, I guess, it's more sort of like Oasis karaoke that he's been essentially doing.
Okay.
What you want is the brothers back together, and
Okay.
this is what you'll...
And you were worried about who the backing band was going to be?
Well, you see, we want to know
Who's
whether
in the
it's the
road crew?
original drummer and who's we offering.
I'm all right.
Yeah?
I'm not offering.
No? Are you going to say you're not a fan of Oasis?
No, I'm a fan of Oasis.
Okay.
I'm a fan of Oasis. I just hope they're better behaved this time round.
Oh, don't be ridiculous.
Yeah, come on, like, you know.
It's
2020. It's 2020.
Well behaved.
Yes, you do when they're 51 and 57. Come on, like, it's time to be well behaved.
Yeah, that's not the sales pitch.
Grown adults now.
Anyway, if you were just tuning our way, that is the news that Oasis are getting back together. They're doing several dates, aren't they? You've got them in front of you.
Yes, Cardiff, 4th and 5th of July, then Manchester for 4 nights, then Wembley for 4, maybe more, who knows. There's certainly space in that schedule, then on to Edinburgh and Dublin to finish up. There's definitely wiggle room for more dates.
OK, we'll bring more about that in just a few moments' time. But while we've got Alan with us and also Katie, terrible, terrible news for Mariah Carey.
Absolutely, yes. Through her social media sites over the weekend, she's confirmed the news that the death of her mother and her sister would seemingly seem on the same day as well. She's put out a statement saying that it's just been a hugely tragic thing for her to have to try and process, saying, "My heart is broken that I've lost my mother this past weekend. Sadly, in a tragic turn of events, my sister lost her life on the same day. I feel blessed that I was able to spend the last week with my mum before she passed, and I appreciate everyone's love and support and respect for my privacy during this impossible time." But what a tragic thing to happen on the same day, by all accounts. I think we'll learn a bit more about what's happened in the coming days, no doubt.
And Alan, you know, pop stars are human beings.
Yeah, it puts everything in context, doesn't it? And also, I should say, Sven, who I was lucky enough to meet many times alongside the Beckhams and Nancy DeLolio. What a sad loss. And it reminds us that music is just one part of life, but on the other hand, a very significant part, and it gives us the strength and, you know, to get through bad times as well.
It's been great to see you. Thanks very much.
Lovely to see you as always. It's been great fun.
Thank
Hey,
you.
they can't play Glastonbury, I've just thought.
Why?
Because it would be televised, wouldn't it? And they said they're not doing any televised gigs. Sorry to be tricky there.
Money talks, though, Alan. Thanks for coming in. We really appreciate it. Top stories?
Yes, there is some other news this morning, apart from Oasis. Let's remind you that, shall we, this morning. Russia has launched another barrage of drones and missiles at Ukraine overnight in a second day of widespread attacks. Ukraine's Air Force commander claimed Russia's attack on the country yesterday was the largest single aerial bombardment of the entire war. At least 7 people were killed. Ukrainian MP Maria Mezenseva told us that civilians were the ones who were attacked.
All of these are not military targets. Yesterday morning, the capital and at least other 8 regions, and also this night, woke up to severe shellings of schools, private houses, shops, supermarkets. The hotel in Kryvyi Rih, the hometown of President Zelensky, the hotel was targeted this night, leaving 5 dead and many more wounded.
In the UK, 5 people have been stabbed on the closing day of the Notting Hill Carnival. 2 of those are in a life-threatening condition. Police also made at least 230 arrests, including 49 for possession of an offensive weapon. Around 1 million people turned out for the event in West London, celebrating Caribbean culture. However, the Met Police says once again it's been marred by unacceptable violence. For the first time, the NHS 111 service will begin offering mental health support to people in crises of all ages. From today, you can call 111 and select a mental health option and speak to a trained professional. Staff can then organise face-to-face support if needed. Current providers field around 200,000 calls a month and say while this is welcome, there's still a large unmet need. And tributes are pouring in for the former English football manager Sven-Göran Eriksson, who's died at the age of 76. The Swedish-born Eriksson has died after a battle with pancreatic cancer. President of the FA, Prince William, leading the tributes along with David Beckham and Wayne Rooney, while former FA Executive Director David Davies told us that his record speaks for itself.
The impact that he made, of course, was enormous. When he came to the country, there was a period, I always remember this, soon after, I suppose, the 5-1 victory in Germany and qualifying for the World Cup, a World Cup that some thought we were never going to qualify in Japan. And he was thought to be the most popular person in public life at that time. Extraordinary.
Let's speak to Andrew Griffith for the Conservative Party this morning. Should we Shadow Secretary of State for Science, Innovation and Technology. Used to be with us at Sky, of course. Did you ever meet Sven when you were working at Sky?
Yeah, I did actually, and I met a Sven lookalike as well at one point. So.
And let's get the news out of the way first of all. Are you a big Oasis fan?
I'm certainly interested to see if they're reforming. That was my era, I'm afraid, to date myself.
OK, well, I can exclusively break it to you because I don't think you were watching a little earlier that they are, which is fantastic, isn't it? So playing at Wembley, etc., etc. Let's get on to what's going on with Downing Street today, and the Prime Minister is going to be in the Rose Garden to make a speech, and he's saying that he will bring back trust in politics. When and where do you think we lost it?
Well, to be honest, Kate, I don't want to hear one syllable out of the Prime Minister's voice on trust in politics until he's grasped the nettle on what's been this burning issue over the summer about Labour parachuting in donors to some of the most senior civil service roles. Previously impartial, no government of any flavour has ever done that before, and these appointments should be rescinded, and the first things he should be saying is he's asked his independent advisor on ministerial interests, Sir Laurie Magnus, to launch an investigation into which of his ministers have broken the ministerial code. Very important.
Well, you're going to be disappointed because he's going to be uttering lots of syllables in the Rose Garden at Downing Street today, and he's going to be talking about bringing back trust in politics. You must accept that in the final days of your government, there was a loss of trust.
Look, we've had an election and we abide the result of that. I do think that you lose trust in politics when politicians don't do what they say they will do. We saw with Labour, there was nothing in their manifesto, Kate, about scrapping the winter fuel allowance, which is going to cost millions of pensioners dear this summer. And there was nothing about the political choice they've made to give inflation-busting pay rises to unions controlled by unions that were big donors to the Labour Party. So there's a growing sense of stench about this government. It's very early days. And in particular, this idea, which I know you will understand, that putting in political supporters to some of the most senior civil service roles in the department I shadow, just one of the roles reporting directly to the permanent secretary, the ability to hire and fire other independent civil servants, that is a role that would normally take somebody in the civil service a lifetime's career to attain. It's a bit like in Sky News, somebody suddenly says, well, we're going to bring in a new senior person, we're going to create a new job. UK and all your colleagues can't apply for that job. And by the way, it's going to go to somebody who's been donating to me, the boss. I mean, it's just not acceptable. And anyone who's interested in standards in public life, in restoring trust in politics, needs to see the Prime Minister get a real grip to this issue before he talks about anything else in the Rose Garden today.
Well, he says he's going to be talking about the Conservatives not being honest about the state they left the country in.
Well, look, we've got the independent OBR. They opine about the state of the public finances. Of course, across most Western European economies, it's been a difficult decade, amplified in particular by COVID. But significantly, almost all of the economic metrics, and your viewers will have seen this, since the election have been positive. The UK is one of the fastest growing economies in the G7. And so there really shouldn't be a debate about the actual legacy Labour inherited. But what they've done, of course, is come on in and made political choices to give inflation-busting pay rises to the public sector, which weren't in their manifesto. And of course, that has put pressure on the public purse. We'll wait to see whether they're about to break one of their other promises in the election, which was not to put up taxes. But pensioners have already paid the price with the scrapping of the winter fuel allowance this summer. Labour promised energy prices would be frozen. They won't be frozen. They'll be going up for millions of pensioners because of that broken promise.
You need a new leader to start challenging them as well on some of this stuff. Aren't you just waiting too long?
Well, no, we're getting on with the important job. I mean, Parliament's coming back next Monday. We will be right in there asking questions. I hope it doesn't take until Monday, frankly, for Labour to reverse these appointments of cronies for them to address some of the real issues about who it was that was giving out passes to number 10 in return for donations for suits and glasses for the Prime Minister. I hope that they will rescind these appointments in the civil service and get the independent standards, the advisor on independent standards, to look at whether the ministerial code has been broken. Incredibly important that these things are addressed. They've been festering over the summer. I'm glad that Sky News and others have been covering this story, but it's really important, and nobody should be talking about trust in politics, standards in public life, while this is all going on in the background.
Good to see you as always, Mr Griffith. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you. Prime Minister's speech from the Rose Garden a little bit later on behind Downing Street, of course, and we will be covering that for you here on Sky News. Unlike the Oasis concerts, it will be televised. Now, the war in Sudan has forced more than 12 million people from their homes and created one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. Yusra joining us now from neighbouring Chad. Hi, Yusra, what have you seen?
Well, this is our third trip to the Chad-Sudan border, Kay, and every time we come here, the situation is getting worse and worse. This time we've spoken to people who said they've barely had any food distribution. They had a food rations distributed when they first arrived. They haven't been able to find work. There's no cash distribution. We've seen lots and lots of sick children with infections who are struggling to survive here after escaping the violence in North Darfur, where some of the fiercest battles are currently raging for control of the region. Now, US-led peace talks in Geneva have recently failed to bring the two fighting factions to the table, and people are rapidly losing hope 500 days on that there will be any political solution. In the meantime, people are coming in, they're suffering, and they have very little hope that they will find a good life here. This is our report. The rainy season won't stop people from crossing into Chad for a day's work or for a new life away from the violence ravaging Sudan. That's North Darfur there, and this border with Chad is known for its movement of goods, of arms, of people. And as battles rage internally for control of the state and the region, those who've managed to escape the fighting have had to make it across on boats like these. Among the merchants trading goods are women and children here to find safety. My son is back in Sudan, she says, and my mum is in a refugee camp here. Her husband has stayed behind to guard their home. It's a crossing made by the most vulnerable, even pregnant women on the verge of giving birth. Hanan made it out in time to have her baby here, risking militia checkpoints and flooded roads. They're safe from shelling and airstrikes, but starvation has followed them. He's crying of hunger, she says, but I can't produce milk to feed him. He's gone without any sustenance his first 20 hours of life because of the war that's consumed hers. Hanan and her son will be discharged to this transit camp, where older children are eating the little they have, feverish from the infections battering their weak, young bodies.
No food, no money. Best, the water is food.
Water is food?
Yeah.
The bright bands mean they're registered and will be moved to camps further inland. Chad is one of the poorest countries in the world, but has taken in the most Sudanese refugees. Tulum camp is home to those displaced by the 2003 genocide in Darfur. And now a new wave of people fleeing the same region because of violence by the same militias. Resources are spread thin, and humanitarian appeals are underfunded. We left war and came to another war. Provide for us, or send us back to Sudan. Young and old, everyone here has fought to survive, leaving their homes behind to an unrelenting war, but still here, fighting for their lives.
Some breaking news just reaching us here at Sky Centre. 2 suspects have been charged with murder after a body was found in a park in Gateshead. Officers attended a grassy area off Shipcote Lane on Sunday morning after receiving a report of concern for the welfare of a man. They found 54-year-old Neil Selkirk, who had sustained injuries consistent with having been assaulted. 2 men have been charged with murder. We'll have more on that coming up in just a few moments' time. All today's top stories as well, so do stay tuned that way.